Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the great pleasure and honor of having Morris Bart, who is a lawyer out of Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas. I don't even know where else, but he's all over. And probably most of you know who he is. I've heard of him because he was the first lawyer in Louisiana to go on TV advertising back in, what year was it, Morris?
1980.
1980, a long time ago. I was still in law school, Morris.
Yeah,
And I'm getting old.
that was a long time ago for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And has built one of the largest personal injury law firms in the nation, and a good guy. And I remember, Morris, you don't remember this, I know. I was at some event and you were speaking, and the one thing that stood out in my mind is you said, I have two business cards. I got one I give to lawyers and I got one I give to the people on the street. And the one that you had that you gave, do you still do that?
That hasn't changed. In fact, I'm going to prove to you that's the case. Here's my wallet. Unprompted. I didn't know you were going to ask me that. And if I pull out my wallet, here is my business card.
Right.
Yeah, typical business card that I give to lawyers. And here is the card that I hand to potential clients, people on the street when they recognize me.
See, I love that. So that's been probably 15 years ago, but I still remember that. That was my big takeaway from that event, believe it or not. So you've had an impact on me, and I appreciate you taking time to be here with us today.
Sure.
You know, I didn't warn you about that, but that's the first thing I thought of when I said, well, I get to do this. I want to ask him, is he still doing that? Because I just thought it was such a ingenious idea, because, you know, people are going to throw away them other cards, but the other one, you're branding, we'll call that Saul.
Right.
I just think it's a great marketing deal. Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into law? How did you get into personal injury? How did you decide you were going to, go on TV and be a big marketer and all that kind of stuff? Just give us a background.
All right, so I'll try and give you the quick summary of it. I graduated in law school in 1978. I was working for a business litigation firm at the time. And when I graduated, 6 months prior to that, the U.S. Supreme Court had decided the Bates decision, which if anyone hasn't read that, you really need to go back and read it. It was a consumer-based decision. It was brought by two legal aid lawyers I believe it was in Phoenix, that quit legal aid and set up what they called a legal clinic to do low-cost separations and divorces. They were censored by the Arizona bar, who wanted to disbar them for advertising. That was unethical and illegal to do at that time. They appealed it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and in a great consumer-based decision, under the commercial free speech provisions of the First Amendment, that the Supreme Court held it is in the consumer's best interest to know about the availability of legal services, and therefore lawyers can advertise as long as their speech is not false, deceptive, or misleading. And that is very, very valuable logic even today. So it's worth reading that case to see what started all of this. So that started the law firm I was working for. The leader of the firm was kind of a free thinker. He decided to set up a legal clinic separate from the law firm. And so I passed the bar and the first time, of course, and got inducted in October. And as soon as I got inducted, he told me, I'm going to put you in charge of the legal clinic. At the time, I was very disappointed because I wanted him to mentor me in being a business litigator and representing businesses. But here I am in this legal clinic now doing separations, divorces. I'm brand new out of law school. I'm going to court, which anybody that does family law knows you go to court constantly. So I'm getting that experience. I'm dealing with the clients, and I'm doing the advertising. And I found out then that I had a knack for it. I had good instincts. I had a good nose for it, whatever you want to call it. But it came easy to me. It came natural to me. And I was doing the marketing for this legal clinic. We were the first legal clinic in New Orleans. And so after 6 months, I turned it into a highly profitable operation. At that time, I'm only 6 months out of law school. So I went to the partners and I asked them to give me a piece of the action and take me off of salary. They did not want to do that. And so I quit, but I left on good terms, opened up my own legal clinic and started advertising. The first year, I'm doing strictly family law cases. But then a personal injury case, a simple auto accident, soft tissue case comes in the door. I handle it and negotiate with the insurance company. I'll tell you this, how times have changed. I made $1,000 fee on that case. I still remember it. And it was a shocking amount of money because at that time I was handling divorces for $250 to $500, and I had to work my butt off to get the divorce. And here, just by making a few phone calls, I made $1,000 fee. And to be quite honest, I enjoyed the work. I felt like I really was achieving something. I was really helping people. I got money for that client that client desperately needed. Where in family law, quite honestly, it's often thankless work because each spouse hates you. It's contentious litigation, and it's difficult. The practitioners out there, I respect them. That's difficult work. So I decided, you know what? I like going to court. I'm a young lawyer, ambitious. I want to do well. But back then, just like now, it was so difficult to get cases. So I started advertising in the newspaper. Ken, you might be old enough to remember this, but every week, I think it was on Saturday, maybe Sunday, the local newspaper would have a pull-out TV guide section.
Yeah.
And we would pull that out. You had 3 stations, and that would show you what's playing. That would be your Bible for the next week of watching television. So I advertised in there. And then in January of 1980, I took the bold step of advertising personal injury on television. I was one of the first lawyers in America to do it, and definitely the first lawyer in Louisiana to do it. We didn't know. We didn't know if it would work or not. And like so many things in life, you've got to take big risks. You've got to take big chances and hope it works out for you. And if it does, then you should get a big reward. I didn't know. At the time I did it, I had a couple of lawyers in New Orleans who I respected that told me it was a mistake, don't do it. In particular, I remember one lawyer told me, and over the years, you get criticism. Most of it just rolls off your back because you have to have kind of a thick skin to do what we do. But some of it gets through. And I still remember that one. He told me, said, look, you're a young lawyer. You got a bright future. You better hope this advertising stuff works because if it doesn't, you're going to be blackballed in New Orleans. No law firm will ever hire you. And I took that to heart. In fact, I was looking at a map and saying, okay, where else am I going to go if it doesn't work? Am I going to go to Atlanta or Houston or Dallas? What am I going to do? And of course, now it's silly to think about because, I took the chance. I ran the ad. My phone rang off the hook. That was in January of 1980. I felt once I got on that train, I'm never going to get off. So from January of 1980 until now, October 2021, I have been on television nonstop and have consistently grown my firm every year. I just continue to grow it. I'm still energized. I still get juiced on the business. I still enjoy, honestly, truthfully, I really enjoy helping people. I love people, which is probably why this is a great business for me. I love people from all walks of life. I like the attention I get when I walk on the street and people stop me and take my picture and ask for my autograph. Of course, who wouldn't like that? And then I like being in my office where I come every day. And I like shaking hands and meeting people and meeting clients on big cases when we get them, big verdicts and big settlements that I couldn't have even imagined, many years ago. It's great. It's a great business, and I'm glad to be part of it.
So you started back then just you by yourself,
Right.
and now how many lawyers, how many staff have you got now, Morris?
Now we have, I think we're around 110 lawyers, somewhere between 105, 110 lawyers. Have a support staff of about 300. We have 17 offices located throughout Louisiana, Southern Mississippi, Alabama. Have an office in Arkansas. So we've expanded dramatically, methodically over the year. Where I saw an opportunity where I could go in and do a good job and have a market that we could represent people there. So it's gotten big. According to Law 360, we're now the second largest injury law firm in America.
Well, I mean, I've known of you for 30 years. I mean, and I, like I said, I went to that event. I can't remember the event, but I wanted to hear you speak because I always feel like that's the best way to learn from somebody that's already, burned that trail and been successful, and try to figure out, what you can do. Because one thing's for sure, your competition is not going to tell you anything. That's for sure. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't either,
I'm glad for the competition. It keeps me juiced. I've been doing this a long time. In an odd way, I like when people take shots at me and people compete with me. That's the American way. I embrace competition. Keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely. And I believe in abundance. I believe there's enough cases out there for everybody. And some people are going to love you, and then some people are going to like that other lawyer. You never know. I tell people I can't get all the business, but the deal is, as long as you're true, and I know you, that
Yeah.
I don't know you personally, but I know enough about you that you're sincere and honest, and you're not fake. You know what I'm saying? You're genuine.
I try to do that. I remember the buzzwords when we started advertising were two things. I wanted to make myself authentic and approachable.
Yeah.
Because if you look again at the roots of what this is, that back in 1977 in the Bates decision, the Supreme Court said there's large segments of America that are unrepresented or underrepresented by lawyers. And that's true even today. So making the availability of legal services would help the consumer. Now, when you look at that, if they've never been represented by lawyers before, it's because they're intimidated by lawyers.
Yeah.
Unlike many of us, when you're dealing with people from the middle to lower socioeconomic strata, they don't have lawyers in their family. Well, now they probably do because there's so many lawyers everywhere. But it used to be that, the working people, if you use that term, the working people really didn't know lawyers. And so I wanted to go on television, and I was representing kind of the new breed of lawyers at that time. And I wanted to make myself approachable. I didn't want to intimidate my potential clients. I wanted to show them that I was approachable, that I was authentic. And I think I've been true to those roots over the many decades I've been advertising.
Well, I've seen your commercials, and they are. So tell me, how did you come up with this one call, that's all?
So that's an interesting story. And again, something that Ken, you might be familiar with, but many of the listeners or viewers of this probably won't know what I'm talking about. Many years ago, there was something new that came on television known as infomercials. Okay, so we all know infomercials. Some people call them long format commercials, but basically it was a 30-minute pretend show where you tried to sell your product. I was fascinated by infomercials. I was just fascinated by the whole concept, and I would watch those. I was always been a student of marketing, and I've always loved marketing. So they had a infomercial at that time, and Ken, now I'm going to put you on the spot, see if you remember it. It was called the Grapefruit 45 Diet. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So the premise was that these brilliant scientists had taken a secret ingredient out of grapefruits known as pectin. And they had put that in a pill.
Yeah.
And by taking this pill at night, while you slept, it would dissolve the fat in your body. And in the morning, you would simply urinate the fat out. And so then they had all these people come on television who would say, oh, it was so easy. All I did was I took this simple pill at night, And I've lost 30 pounds in the last month, and I'm still eating bacon and steaks and French fries and fried chicken and everything I love, and I'm losing weight. And I was fascinated by that. So I went and saw my agent and friend in New Orleans who was doing my advertising at the time, Richard Sackett, who is, well known, has been doing attorney advertising for a long time. But we were both infants in this field. It was a brand new field just emerging. And I went over to Rick's house and I told him, I said, Rick, I figured out what America wants. They want things quick, simple, easy. They don't want to hear to lose weight, I've got to diet, I've got to exercise, I've got to work hard. No, they just want to take one pill and that's it. And then they lose their weight. So we need to adapt that to law. We need to come up with a slogan. And of course, Ken, you can see where I'm going here. We need to come up with a slogan that's as easy as the Grapefruit 45 diet. So we start talking about it. Well, how does law work? How do people contact a lawyer? Well, they call a lawyer. Okay, so what could be easier? Maybe one phone call. One phone call does it all. One phone call gets it all. And before you know it, we come up with one call, that's all. I did that. And that was back in the 80s. I had no idea it would still be used today. At the time, it was going to be my slogan du jour. We were going to use that for about a year and then move on to something else. Because my slogan prior to that was, I'm on your side, which I still use occasionally, but I used that probably through most of the 80s. And then somewhere around 86, 88, then I shifted to one call, that's all. And throughout the years, I've used both of them, but I predominantly use one call, that's all. So that is the odd history of one call, that's all. I had a lot of friends. Sackett had a lot of clients. Back then you don't care about trademarking anything. So my friends used it. Sackett's clients used it. So there's many lawyers now around America that have adopted one call, that's all. And, God bless them. I hope they do well with it.
Yeah, I do see that around. In fact, I thought maybe you were licensed in it or something. I didn't know. Or maybe
No, I was not back then, and even today. If I had the chance to license it, no, I don't care about that. I mean, it's a good slogan. I use it throughout my territory, and others use it. Wherever they are, that's fine with me. I make my money practicing law.
Absolutely. So I was reading that your marketing budget is over $25 million. Is that?
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's grown like that, but we're in 7 markets in Louisiana, 1 market, 2 markets actually in Mississippi, and 4 markets in Alabama. So it's not surprising that we get up to $25 million. It takes a lot of work and a lot of lawyers to pay a $25 million advertising budget and pay salaries and pay overhead and hopefully eke out a profit for myself. But yeah, that's where we are now. And we're very active, if not dominate, in every platform. I mean, television is the base foundation of what we do, but we have a very robust digital campaign, billboards, radio, social media, PR. Yeah, we pretty much press all the buttons.
I don't know, are you seeing this? I'm hearing this from a lot of lawyers across the nation that TV still works, but the cost per case has gone up in the last 5 to 7 years pretty dramatically than what it used to be.
Yeah. It has gone up dramatically, but I feel that it's a must. Any successful lawyer and when I say successful, I mean, you can be a sole practitioner and have a social media digital campaign and generate a few cases each month and do very good for yourself. But if you want to have a big firm, if you want to have a dominant presence, you've got to have television. It's got to be the foundation of what you build on. I've tried social media digital campaigns in certain markets without a television campaign, and we've gotten a marginal type response. But then when I've gone back into those markets with a television campaign and added the social media and digital campaign, then the numbers go up dramatically. The problem is every city in America is now glutted with lawyer ads. I mean, that's just the way it is. So the entry level is very expensive in any of your probably top 75, 80 markets. If you don't have the money to do a multi-million-dollar television budget, you're not going to make much of a stand. I mean, it used to be, and it doesn't seem like it's that long ago. I could go through, I used to get what they call the CMR report, and I'd go through the top 75 markets in America, and there might be about a dozen lawyers in America that were spending $1 million or more on television. Now, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, if the top 75 markets, you probably have 150, 200 lawyers spending $1 million or more.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, I remember when I went in TV, there was like $300 million a year being spent on TV, and now it's over $1 billion. About just PI lawyers, it's over $1 billion. I mean, it's probably 1.5 billion or something like that. It's crazy.
Well, but just, like you said, I mean, it's got to be cases out there for everyone, because no one's going to continue spending $1 million or more a year on television if they're not making that type of money. So
yeah,
I think there's enough to go around.
Yeah, and I think you're right about TV, because what I've seen too is TV. And I've talked to internet people, SEO providers, and I just asked 2 or 3 of them one day. I said, if you go do SEO for a lawyer that's on TV, don't you get better results than one that's not doing TV? And he said, absolutely. He said the TV pushes people to the website. It makes you recognizable when they're on there. They might not even know they recognize it, but subconsciously they remember Morris Bart was on TV, and we'll call that all, and they go and they see that, and people tend to gravitate towards stuff that they're familiar with, don't you think?
Well, of course. I mean, actually, it's the same as the film industry. That the major movie studios will spend a fortune on what they call P&A, prints and advertising, to roll out a major release in the movie theaters. They're going to lose their ass on the theatrical release, but they don't care, because the theatrical release is what drives DVD sales and now streaming. Unless you have that theatrical release, your movie is not going to do hardly anything. That model, of course, is changing. That's a discussion for another day. I used to produce movies for several years, so I'm very familiar with the industry, but that whole model is collapsing now in favor of the streaming services, Netflix, doing their own content, and they have a built-in audience and just roll it out. But prior to that, the business model of the movie industry was the theatrical release is what drove sales of DVDs and streaming. And I believe it's the same in law, that television is what drives the business. To a large extent, I think digital, for me, functions as a modern day Yellow Pages. Someone does whether it's a branded or branded, obviously they're looking for me, but a non-branded search. And what I mean by that, of course, is someone Googles a generic term like car wreck lawyer, and then a whole bunch of results pop up. If they see my name, they recognize that from television, we're likely to get that business, as opposed to when there's a lot of names that people don't know and it gets a little overwhelming and they just click at random on someone. So I don't think there's any question that branding yourself, whether you do it through television or billboards or radio or whatever, I mean, a lot of it's just dependent upon the money you have to spend. But the more you can brand yourself in the community, the better digital will work for you.
Yeah. Well, I've often discussed this with lawyers, and I think you're going to agree with me, but if you don't, I'm okay with that too. Lawyers come to me all the time, Morris, asking me, I want to get into TV. And I just tell them, I said, if you don't have the money to be in the top 3 spenders, you probably need to put that money somewhere else. And you got to have, and you got to be willing to be able to have the stamina to stay there. Because when I went on TV, and I guarantee you always said when you went on TV, when I went on TV, the first commercial that went out, I started getting calls. I mean, I started in 90, like I was way behind you. I started in 96. But I'm telling you, it still was not saturated at that point. I mean, I put on a TV ad and I went from taking 20 cases a month to 120 cases a month overnight. I mean, overnight. What do you think about that? I mean, you said it, you kind of mentioned it before that you said, you got to have the money to do it. But
yeah.
I mean, Do you think you got to be in the top three or top four?
I kind of agree with you, Ken. I would expand a little bit. I think top three is a little too much. I would say you ought to strive to be in the top five of whatever your market is. I think if you're in the top five, you're doing fine. Number two, you have to have staying power.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Which you alluded to. You have to be able to do it at least for 3 to 5 years. I mean, that first year, you got to have thick skin. You're not going to get much business. You're gonna go into debt a lot or spend a lot of your money. It takes a while to turn it into a profitable operation. I used to think it was 3 years when I went to a new market. Now I think maybe 5 years even. So you got to be able to do that. And then the third thing, which you didn't mention, but I believe in, is you got to have this intangible quality known as charisma on television. Not a lot of lawyers have that. I see ads for lawyers that are just cringeworthy. They shouldn't be on television. But pretty much advertising agencies, if a lawyer comes in and has cash in their pocket, they're going to put them on television, which that agency is probably doing a disservice to the lawyer. I mean, sure, they could take a still shot of them and put them on a television ad and not let them speak or move, but, have the still shot, that works fine. And charisma is an intangible thing. You don't have to look a certain way. It's just an intangible quality. You could be male, female, black, white, in shape, out of shape. It doesn't matter. There's just a certain intangible quality, and you know it when you see it. You see a lawyer on TV, and he's just got this quality about him that punches through. I think I have been blessed and fortunate that I have that punch when I go on television, and people have responded to it. Otherwise, how could I, from little old New Orleans, grow such a large law firm? I'm not in Chicago or LA or Miami. So I think you need to look at that too. I think if you're a lawyer and think of going on television, you need to look at how will I come across on TV? Do I have a charisma? And hopefully you can find someone objective to tell you about that. And number two, am I okay with the attention I'm going to get? Because if you're a shrinking violet, you don't want to do it. You want to be a very out there social person that enjoys going out and getting recognized and getting kidded about being on television. Having people come up to you and go, oh, my neck hurts. If that's going to aggravate you, then you shouldn't do it. But if you think you could laugh at that and then jive with them and talk with them about that, it's for you.
Yeah. I remember when I was in North Carolina, I couldn't go anywhere. I mean, yeah. And like you said, I got embarrassed. I got used to it, but I got embarrassed. I had people like walk in Walmart and the greeter wants my autograph. And I'm thinking, I'm not worthy of an autograph. But hey, they see you on TV, they think you're a star, even though you pay to be on TV. They're not paying you, but they don't know the difference. I mean, to them, you're a celebrity.
Right.
But I think that lets you know it's working too.
Oh, absolutely.
It lets you know it's working. Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, let me ask you about the pandemic. I've seen different law firms handle it different ways. Have you learned anything from the pandemic, or have you changed anything in your marketing or in your staffing or anything?
Not really, Ken. I mean, I guess short term I did. We shut the firm down, but I came back quick. So let's go back to March of 2020. That's when COVID was starting to spread rapidly. I got COVID. I was one of the first people to get it. And it's partly my fault. I mean, I've never been that careful, and I'm a real social person. So, I'm not one to stop shaking hands and hugging people. And so, boom, I got it. Fortunately, I had a mild case. I quarantined at home for a couple of weeks. 3 days was like having the flu. And then I got better. And then I just felt real tired. But after a couple of weeks, I was doing pretty good. And I came back to work. But we then shut down the firm from working in the office, and we shifted to a work from home model. And we did that pretty much April through June. I was still coming to the office because I felt like I was Superman. I'd already had COVID, so I had immunity. I couldn't get it. And so I was out there. I was doing whatever I wanted pretty much. In June, I really didn't like the work from home model. And so in June of 2020, I had everybody come back to the office. There was some gnashing of teeth about it, but after a short time, everybody adjusted. Of course, I made special exceptions for people. You know, if someone had an elderly parent at home, if someone had young children, if a woman was pregnant and, you know, they were very concerned about it, or they had personal health or risk factors, of course, you know, I cut them slack and I let them work from home. So not everybody came back, but we pretty much work from home, and we've been back in the office now well over a year, 16 months or so. It's working out great. Everybody's coming here. Everybody's comfortable. I have a big, beautiful office in downtown New Orleans. We're in one of the biggest and best buildings in the city, and I have 70,000 square feet in my New Orleans office. So it's a huge office, and everybody feels comfortable here. So the work from home model didn't change me. The advertising hasn't changed. I would say the only change, interestingly, the only change that has come about as a result of COVID is that I and everyone in the office is now dressing more casual. You know, like today, I have a dress shirt on, which I still wear, but I don't have a tie on. And I've got just a pair of dark blue jeans on, which I never would have done that before. I was always, my whole career, a suit and tie kind of guy. And dressing casual for me would have been a suit with a dress shirt and no tie. So dressing in a sport coat and jeans and a dress shirt, and most of the lawyers here, the male lawyers, follow my lead, and they're dressing the same way. That's been a huge change, and I got to say, I like it. Of course, Zoom has been a huge change for us. We're doing a lot of Zoom, whether it's interviewing new staff at any of the offices, client interviews, Zoom conferences like you and I are doing right now. I think Zoom is amazing, amazing technology, and we've embraced that fully. So those are a couple of changes that have come up, but other than that, my marketing is still, you know, pretty much the same. You know, just sticking with the basics.
Have you had any problems? This is another thing I'm seeing, and maybe you're not experiencing it, but we had a lot of lawyers that are telling me they're having a hard time finding new, you know, they need more help, they need more staff people, they need more lawyers, and they're having a hard time finding people that qualified that want to work.
Yeah, actually, we've had, you know, that it's interesting. We right now we need to hire 5 new lawyers, and these are all growth positions, which I'm very fortunate to have that in these uncertain times.
Right.
But in the past, when we wanted to hire a lawyer, since, you know, we're such a big firm and there's a lot of opportunity here, we'd have lawyers lined up down the street to work here. Now it's tough. It's tough to get lawyers in. You know, we're getting them. It's a little slower. I know we've hired 2 and we have 3 more to go, but it's just vastly different from the way it was in the past. I don't have an answer for that other than just to offer more money. So we've increased our salaries, and I think we have a very good package that we offer, but I'm not compromising on work from home. I had one lawyer recently that I offered him a 6-figure salary, which was the most he's ever made. And he tells me, he goes, yeah, but I got childcare issues. I want to work from home. And I told him, I said, well, then, you know, this job isn't for you. We're a work from the office law firm. And if I'm going to pay you this much money and you can't get here early in the morning and stay until the evening and work hard on the cases we have, you've got to be home to take care of your kids. You know, that's fine. Do your thing, but you're not going to work for me.
Right. So getting close to the end, I got 2 more questions and then I'll let you go.
All right.
What do you think are the top 3 things that you would attribute to your success to?
You know, I'm laughing because when you say that, my father used to have a quote that he would always tell me. And it was a funny quote, but in hindsight, I pretty much lived by that. So the quote was this: early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. So
I love it.
That about sums it up.
Yeah.
I think to that, I would add what I alluded to earlier. which is you got to love people to do this job. You got to love people. You got to enjoy being a lawyer. If you are begrudgingly being a lawyer, if you don't like to identify as a lawyer, if when you go to a social setting or see your friends, you're like afraid to say, oh, I'm a lawyer because they're going to kid you about it or criticize the legal profession. If you can't own it, then you're only in it for the money and you're not going to be happy. So you got to enjoy being a lawyer. And then number two, if you're going to market yourself and you're going to put yourself out there, you're going to put your face on a billboard or a television ad or whatever you're going to do, then you've got to accept the attention that comes with that. You've got to love people. I mean, you wouldn't have a movie star that doesn't want to be seen in public or doesn't like people. They pretend like they don't. You know, that's kind of the big thing in Hollywood, to put their hand up. Oh, no pictures, no pictures. That's such bullshit. I mean, they crave that attention. If they came out of that restaurant in LA and there was no paparazzi, they would go nuts. They would do something crazy or something obscene to attract the cameras, and then they would do, no, get away. So you've got to love people. You've got to want the attention. You've got to have that. If you don't love people and you're not willing to work like hell and advertise, then you need to choose something else.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to young lawyers out there that want to get into this field?
Well, there's a few things you can do. I would say number one, because just like I was many years ago, it's hard to get clients and you have limited means. I think the great equalizer is digital. You know, television is very, very expensive, but digital, if you've got a friend of yours that's adept at that, or you're adept at that yourself, you can really create a brand for yourself and a name for yourself at very low cost. Might take a lot of elbow grease instead of spending money. You might have to stay up late at night doing stuff. You might have to take pictures of yourself. You might have to post and then, try to do things to optimize your website. It's difficult because there's a lot of competition, but it is a lower bar to entry. You can get into that a lot cheaper. I think that's important. And then number two is to try and find a niche. If you're in a big city and you're saying to yourself, okay, I want to do car wreck cases because that's where the money is. Well, every other lawyer in your town wants to do that too. So you're not offering anything unique. You're not doing anything different that's going to make people call you. Better you find some other specialty, whether it's elder law, Social Security, or workers' comp, or maybe premise liability. You want to find something that the masses of lawyers aren't doing, so you don't have as much competition. Start making a name for yourself there. And if you're successful and you brand yourself with that, you can always go in a different direction and then move into some other area of law that's more competitive. But at least start with something where you have a good chance of getting the cases.
I think that's some great advice. Listen, I appreciate you being with us today and sharing your years of knowledge and experience. You gave some great advice. I learned something today, and I always like it when I learn things. Never too old to learn, right?
Yeah, listen, Ken, and congratulations to you. I mean, I see your name everywhere, and you're doing a wonderful job in getting out there and disseminating information to lawyers, truthful, accurate information, not only that you've developed, but getting experts in the field to try and educate the people who are interested in what you have to do. So congratulations to you too.
Thank you. I enjoy it. You talk about having a passion. Yeah. I just got where I didn't have any passion years ago, sold out, but I got a passion for this. Somebody said, when are you going to retire? I said, I enjoyed it. This is not work to me. I could talk to you for another 3 hours about this stuff. I mean, I could. I mean, I enjoy it. I love it. I like you. I got a knack for marketing. I like it. I like the management more now than I used to. But as you know, and it's what I've seen, lawyers that get successful like you, getting the case is not the problem. It's handling all that, it's scaling and handling all the the infrastructure and the managing it. That's what's tough. Yeah, that's where it gets hairy.
That's a learned skill.
Yeah, it is a learned skill. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Thank God I had some really smart people when I was doing mine because I didn't have a clue, but I had some really smart, a lot smarter than I was. That really guided me and set up my infrastructure. Thank God. If it meant that to me, we'd have never got it done. That's for sure. I was good at marketing, but I wasn't very good at the infrastructure back then. Well, good deal. Well, thank you so much. And
Sure, Ken.
and hopefully, I want to invite you right now. You don't have to come, but we're going to have a summit in New Orleans.
Really?
The last week in June. Yep.
All
At
right.
the Ritz-Carlton. And I'd love to have you as a guest. And hey, I even like to have you speak if you want to. I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot. You can tell me later.
No, look, that's right in my backyard. That's an easy sell for me. I'd be happy to participate.
Okay. Well, I'll get up with you. We got your information, and yeah, I like it. Yeah, it would be easy for you because it's right there at the Ritz-Carlton.
Sure.
I don't know exactly where your office is, but it can't be too far from there.
Actually, it's only a few blocks away.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Well, good deal. I want you to talk because you got a lot to share.
Great. Well, thanks, Ken. I enjoyed it. And let me know. Let me know how things are going.
Okay, brother. Take care.
All right.
Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success. Thank you.
All right. Take care.